We look at an under-the-radar signing that might be the LA Kings' best move this offseason. That and more on this edition of Locked On LA Kings.
You are Locked On Kings, your daily podcast on the Los Angeles Kings. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, Kings fans, welcome to Locked On LA Kings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On LA Kings your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. I'm Eddie Garcia, your host of Locked On LA Kings. I've worked in sports media for the past 30 years. Also one of the co-hosts of the Puck Podcast, a weekly podcast that recaps the past week in the NHL. We're in our 19th year of doing the show and one of the longest running hockey podcasts out there. And I'm also a passionate LA Kings fan for over 30 years. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Coming up on today's show, we're going to talk about the new head coach of the Kings AHL affiliate. Plus, the Kings will be part of the NHL's opening night. We'll give you the details on that. But we start by continuing our offseason look at the LA Kings and the moves they made at this time to improve their squad. And want to get you more acquainted with some of the new players. And today that will be forward Joel Armia. He turned 32 this past May. He is a native of Pori, Finland. Armia was a first-round pick of the Buffalo Sabres, 16th overall back in 2011. Now, he would only play one game for Buffalo and then was a part of a 7-player trade between the Sabres and the Winnipeg Jets. It had some pretty big names involved. Evander Kane, Zach Bogosian, and Jason Kasdorf went to the Sabres in exchange for Armia. Former King Brennan Lemieux, Drew Stafford, Tyler Myers, and a first-round pick in 2015 that turned into forward Jack Roslovic. Armia would play parts of 3 seasons and a total of 179 games in Winnipeg. He would then be traded to Montreal in 2018, along with Steve Mason and a pair of draft picks for somebody named Simon or Simone Bork. I've heard it both ways. He went on to play exactly 0 NHL games, so a pretty good deal for Montreal. Armia would play his last 7 seasons, 406 games with the Montreal Canadiens. His career high in goals was 17, set 2 years ago. His career high in points is 30. That was in the 2019-20 season, although he had 29 points last season, so just one off his career high a year ago. Canadiens actually cut Armia, and he was not a part of their training camp or opening night roster for the start of the 2023-24 season, and he started the year in the AHL. However, due to injuries, he was called up and never left the lineup again. He would end up playing in the team's top 6 and go on to score a career-high 17 goals in 66 games. Last year, 81 games, he had 11 goals and 29 points playing in a bottom 6 role. Last year, he also played for Finland in the 4 Nations face-off. Now, you might look at Armia's stats and not be too excited about it, and that's understandable. But he is still an upgrade for the Kings and what LA had on their 4th line for most of last season. Now, from a goal scoring standpoint, the Kings had Alex Turcotte, who had 9 goals, Tanner Jeannot, who had 7, Trevor Lewis, who had 6, Samuel Hellenius 4, and Akil Thomas and Andre Lee each had 1. So from the bulk of the 4th line last year, and some of those goals came when Alex Turcotte was kind of hopping around the lineup a little bit, and maybe even Trevor Lewis played on the 3rd line for a few games, but that's 6 players who made up the bulk of the Kings' 4th line. They totaled 28 goals last season. Joel Armia and Corey Perry, who's expected to play with Armia on the Kings' new-look 4th line, combined for 30 goals last season. Now, Armia can add some offense, but he's also a very responsible defensive player and will play on the Kings' penalty kill. Armia also had 3 shorthanded goals last season. That was only 1 less than the entire Kings roster last year, who had a total of 4 shorthanded goals. So Joel Armia will be on the number 1 penalty killing unit for the LA Kings. And unless he's been on the ice, he will be over the boards immediately when the Kings find themselves shorthanded. So Joel Armia gets a 2-year deal worth $2.5 million per season with the Kings. Certainly a reasonable price for a veteran depth player. Now, of course, the same can't be said for a guy like Cody Ceci, but we're not going to go down that road right now. Armia, that contract is the type of deal you expect to give some of your role players, if you will, your fourth line guys, your bottom pairing defenders. Something reasonable around $2 million or less is what you're looking to pay those guys. Of course, Armia has been around for a while, and he's earned something like $2.5 million. Very reasonable price for a solid all-around player. He's going to not do anything maybe exceptionally well other than kill penalties, but he does a little bit of everything well enough that he can help you win. He's never going to wow you, most likely, with anything. Maybe a shorthanded goal, though, would be nice. But again, he's just a solid, reliable, does everything right type of a player. Exactly what a lot of coaches and GMs are looking for to upgrade the depth of their roster. Now, Joel Armia is 6'3", 215, so he's got some good size. Not considered an overly physical player. It's not likely that you're going to see some big open ice hits from him, but he also doesn't shy away from contact either. He is a gritty two-way forward. He will use his size and strength when needed to get the job done. He is strong on the forecheck. He can help generate cycles. He can help grind down opponents, but he's not overly fast, but he's not slow either. He is known to be calm under pressure, which certainly helps when you're killing penalties. He's got a long reach, which also helps kill penalties. Good at protecting the puck. And if you're holding the goal lead late in a game, don't be surprised to see Joel Armia over the boards to help close out and hold on to a lead. At the same time, to be fair, if you're down a goal, don't expect to see Joel Armia out on the ice either. Now, he does have some solid postseason experience. He's appeared in 49 career playoff games, 10 goals, 17 points in his postseason career. That included a trip to the Stanley Cup Finals a few years back with Montreal. That was in 2021. And that year, 21 playoff games, he had 5 goals and 8 points. So if Jim Hiller wanted a fourth line guy that he could trust in playoff situations, he has that in Joel Armia, especially if the Kings are holding on to a lead late. He's going to be out there on the ice a lot. Now, Armia should have no issues integrating himself into the Kings defense first system. And he has even played on the same line as Corey Perry back when both were with the Montreal Canadiens and they made that Stanley Cup run. So Perry and Armia should be on the fourth line together. They've played there before. Same types of players, veteran guys who've been around the block, know how to get the job done. And they should absolutely make the Kings' fourth line much better than it was a year ago, not just from a goal scoring standpoint, although that would be improved as well, but all around. The fourth line should be, not a source of strength necessarily, but a part of the puzzle that the Kings hope will make them a better all-around team. Now, Armia comes to LA, and you may remember his name being associated with the Kings in the past. This isn't new. There has been talk of him becoming an LA King at various points over the last few seasons. There was even talk at the trade deadline this past year about the Kings adding Armia. Probably not a coincidence that the man who brought Joel Armia to Montreal was then Canadiens GM, now Kings advisor Marc Bergevin. And I'm guessing he likely has told the LA Kings on more than one occasion that Joel Armia is a player worth going and getting. Now, on the surface, again, not an exciting ad, but Armia does help the entire forward core be better than it was a year ago. After signing Joel Armia, Kings GM Ken Holland said, quote, Armia is one of the top forwards in the NHL in time on ice on the penalty kill. So let's say they're on the fourth line. He's talking about Armia and Perry. He says Armia can play on the PK and Perry can play on the power play. The goal heading into free agency was to try and make the team deeper, a little bit bigger, a little bit better. But it was a really good team last year, and you try to build on that, and we believe we have done that. End quote. Again, that was Ken Holland talking about adding Joel Armia and Corey Perry in free agency. Now, fans can have issues with some of the Kings offseason moves, but I don't think anyone should have a problem with Joel Armia. It's not getting a lot of attention. It probably is, though, the best move the Kings made this offseason. Of course, you can also argue that adding a fourth line role player, if that's your best offseason move, maybe it's not a very good offseason for you. And I think that's a fair point. But in terms of what this player brings to the table and what the Kings are paying Joel Armia, all in all, it's a very solid signing for the Kings. And you could argue could be their best signing overall when you factor in the fact that what they're getting, what they're paying him, what they're getting. And then if you wanted to argue, well, what about Corey Perry? Well, Joel Armia doesn't come with the baggage that Corey Perry does for some Kings fans. So again, a very solid offseason move in the Kings, adding a reliable, penalty killing, solid, occasionally offensive contributing forward in Joel Armia. The Ontario Reign have made some moves this offseason, including a new head coach. We'll give you the details on that next on Locked On LA Kings, your team every day. You just realized your business needs to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other sites. Indeed's sponsored jobs put your post at the top of the page to help you reach the right candidates faster. If you've been in a spot where you need to hire right away, the pressure's on, and every day without the right person's a setback, that's exactly when Indeed's sponsored jobs comes in handy. They'll make sure your post is seen by the right candidates right now. And now you can speed up the hiring process with a $75 sponsored job credit. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring, Indeed, is all you need. All right, we do have some Kings-related news as the LA Kings AHL affiliate, the Ontario Reign, have hired their next head coach. His name is Andrew Lord, and he has been tagged to replace Marco Sturm, who, of course, left to become the new head coach of the Boston Bruins. Andrew Lord is 40 years old. He's a native of Vancouver. Took an interesting path to be the new head coach of the Reign. Played collegiately at RPI, Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute. It's an engineering school in New York, but it's got a pretty solid hockey program. After 4 years at UPI, he did not get drafted by an NHL team, so he ended up playing in the ECHL for several teams, including the Wheeling Nailers, Rochester Americans, Milwaukee Admirals, and Oklahoma City Barons. He then played in Germany for a season before finishing his career playing 5 years with the Cardiff Devils of the Elite Ice Hockey League, which is in England. He was a player coach for the team for 4 seasons, was the head coach for 2 more, and was the winningest coach in Cardiff Devils history. His overall record was 221, 75 and 22. He was named the league's coach of the year twice in 2017 and 2018. Now, he was their head coach for 6 seasons, and then in 2020, he left to become the Kings' ECHL affiliate head coach, the Greenville Swamp Rabbits. The next year, he was named GM of the team as well. In 4 seasons in Greenville, his teams made the playoffs each season, and he won a division title in his final season. His overall record with the Swamp Rabbits was 155, 94, and 39. He was named ECHL Coach of the Year in 2024. This past season, Lord was the head coach of the Halifax Mooseheads in the QMJHL, the Quebec Maritime Junior Hockey League. Had a record of 42, 18, and 8. Won the division title and made the playoffs. His overall head coaching record in playing over in the, or I should say coaching in the Elite Ice Hockey League in England, the ECHL with Greenville, and the QMJHL with Halifax. His overall record is 418, 187, and 69. And his teams almost always made the playoffs. Now, I will be honest with you. I had never heard of Andrew Lord until the Kings hired him to be the Ontario Reign's head coach, but clearly the track record looks pretty impressive. He's had success everywhere he's gone in a variety of different levels. So it seems like a pretty solid hire. He's never coached the AHL level before or been an NHL assistant, but again, has certainly worked his way up the ladder. The Kings have somewhat of a relationship with him when he was at the Greenville Swamp Rabbits, the Kings ECHL affiliate, and then obviously reached out to him to see if he would be interested in coaching the Reign, and he obviously said yes. So I did reach out to some folks with the Ontario Reign, asked them about having Coach Lord on as a guest, and they said that they are going to try and set that up. So hopefully we'll have a conversation with Andrew Lord, the new head coach of the Ontario Reign, here in the not too distant future on Locked On LA Kings. As far as the rest of the coaching staff, I did see that Chris Height is remaining associate head coach. Some thought he would be in consideration for the head coaching job. This will be his 9th year as an assistant with the Ontario Reign. It spans 2 different stints in the organization. So Chris Height is back. Brad Schuler remains the other assistant. This will be his 4th year as an assistant with the Ontario Reign. And Adam Brown is the goaltending and development coach. While we're talking about the Ontario Reign, we haven't really had time to kind of squeeze in some of the roster signings for the Ontario Reign. We will let you know that the Kings did re-sign forward Taylor Ward. He gets a 1-year deal worth $775,000. He will be in his 5th season with the Ontario Reign, 35 goals, 95 points in 224 AHL games. He did have, you might remember, 1 goal in 1 game for the Kings last year. He played in that final game. Remember, it was the makeup of the Fire game against the Calgary Flames. And the Kings were like, this game is meaningless. There's nothing to play for. Let's give a guy a call up and give him a chance. And it was one of the cooler moments of the season, Taylor Ward scoring his first NHL goal in his first NHL game. The Reign also signed Logan Brown to a 1-year deal, $775,000. This will be his first year with the Reign. He's 27 years old. He's played 99 career NHL games for the Ottawa Senators and St. Louis Blues, recording 7 goals and 26 points. He was drafted first round, 11th overall by Ottawa back in 2016. 148 career AHL games. He's got 40 goals and 127 points. 26-year-old Cole Gutman was signed by the Kings and Reign. He was born in Northridge, California. He's a former junior King, so kind of coming back full circle for him. He was signed by the Kings on a 2-year deal worth $1.55 million, also making $775,000 per season. He was a 6th-round pick of the Lightning back in 2017. He's a center that's played 41 career NHL games, all with the Chicago Blackhawks. He had 8 goals and 14 points with Chicago, 148 career AHL games. He's got 55 goals and 127 points. This will be his first season in the Kings organization. And Ontario also signs defenseman Samuel Bolduc. This will be his first season with the Reign. He played 52 career NHL games, all with the New York Islanders, recording 4 goals and 8 points. He's played 211 AHL games with 28 goals and 92 points. He's 24 years old, was a 2nd-round pick, 57th overall by the Islanders back in 2019. So all these guys, Taylor Ward, Logan Brown, Cole Gutman, and Samuel Bolduc, these are all AHL players. They are in that situation where maybe if there is an extreme injury situation, they could be called up as guys who do have, most of them have some NHL experience, and they could fill in for a short time, but they're mostly AHL guys that are signed to fill out AHL rosters. Not every player in the AHL is seen at as a legitimate NHL prospect. Now, the Reign do have some of those guys, and we'll talk about the Ontario Reign roster at some point this offseason, and we'll focus mostly on the players who likely have at least a decent shot at playing in the NHL or are looked at as real prospects at that level. But these guys, frankly, are not those guys. These are guys that are just playing in the AHL to help kind of fill out a roster. Now, one of the guys that's kind of in the middle here is a name we've mentioned before. We talked about when development camp opened up, 21-year-old forward Jack Hughes was a part of it, and he was signed to an AHL contract, a 2-year deal by the Ontario Reign. Now, he was a 2nd-round pick, 51st overall in 2022 by the Kings, former Boston University standout, and he is getting a little bit of a surprising chance to extend his hockey career and get to play some professional hockey. There was talk that the Kings would not be extending him an offer, and technically the Kings didn't. This is an AHL contract. I think if the Kings ever wanted to call him up, they would have to sign him to a contract, and then they could call him up. So right now he's strictly, I believe, property of the Ontario Reign. But the fact of the matter is he was looked at as kind of a tweener. But he is getting a chance to show what he can do, and hopefully he'll seize this opportunity and get a shot. There was one notable player I did want to mention that is no longer with the Ontario Reign or the Kings organization, and that is forward Samuel Fogom. He'd been a high-scoring winger for Ontario the last 2 years. He was an unrestricted free agent after this year and signed a deal with the Winnipeg Jets, who have a number of former Kings on their roster now. If you wanted to support another NHL team because of the number of ex-Kings, obviously you got Gabe Vilardi, Alex Iafallo, Jarrett Anderson Dolan's been kicking around with them. They just added Tanner Pearson, who was a cup winner with the Kings in 2014. And now Samuel Fogom is in the mix as well. So there are a lot of ex-Kings for whatever reason in Winnipeg. But I mentioned those fringe guys. Samuel Fogom is one of those guys too. He gets a 1-year deal, $775,000 to play for the Jets. But he's one of those guys where maybe in the right situation, he could get a shot to play in the NHL. But frankly, it's not with the Kings, and it's not with a team like the Winnipeg Jets, unless there's a massive amount of injuries. He probably would have been better off trying to catch on with Chicago or Pittsburgh or San Jose or one of those type of teams that are really rebuilding and maybe would give somebody like him a chance. But I don't see the reigning President's Trophy winners looking to give Samuel Fogom a chance to play in the NHL, but we'll see. He clearly was frustrated by not getting an opportunity with the Kings. I certainly can understand how the organization felt about him. There were times where I did feel like, let's give him a shot and see what he can do. But the Kings clearly felt like they know him better than me, and they just felt like he wasn't a real NHL caliber player. So he's going to go try and see if he can be an NHL player with another organization. So we wish Samuel Fogom good luck playing for another team. So the Ontario Reign are going to play their season opener October 10th. We now know when, where, and who the LA Kings will be opening next season up against. We will talk about that next on Locked On LA Kings, your team every day. Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game more exciting. You're already following the action. Why not make it a little more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. FanDuel tracks your favorite matchups, and the app keeps it fresh with new daily promotions and fun ways to bet. It's easy to use, fast to pay out, and makes even regular season games feel like must-watch events. Whether it's a same-game parlay or watching a bet ride in the ninth inning, FanDuel makes it feel like you're a part of the action. New to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. Well, the NHL will release their entire regular season schedule coming up this Wednesday, July 16th, but on Monday, it was announced who will be featured on opening night of the NHL. It's going to be a triple header. First game, Blackhawks against the defending Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers, followed by the Rangers hosting the Penguins, and they will be capped off with the LA Kings hosting the Colorado Avalanche, 7:30 p.m. LA time, October the 7th. We're only 85 days away from the Kings opening up the NHL season against the Colorado Avalanche. It'll be here before you know it. So let the countdown begin. 85 days away. Kings hosting the Avalanche opening night, October 7th in the NHL. Now we will have a more in-depth look at the Kings schedule, which is again going to be released coming up on Wednesday. We'll talk about that on our Thursday show because Wednesday we will have a special guest joining us. Okay, I also wanted to share an idea with you. I was going to do this on our Friday fan feedback show, but it ran out of time. And this could be a good idea, could be a bad idea, but I'm willing to give it a try. So, how well do you know your LA Kings? How well do you know the Kings' history? How well do you know trivia involved with the Kings? Do you feel like you are a very knowledgeable fan when it comes to your LA Kings? Are you willing to put that knowledge to the test? If you are, let me know, and we might have some sort of Kings fan throwdown or something, a competition. Maybe prizes will be involved. We'll see, but look, it's the off season. We've got time to have some fun. and try different things. So this is something I'm throwing out there. We'll see if what the response is. We'll see if anybody's willing to put it on the line. But if you feel like you are a knowledgeable Kings fan, if you think you could be put to the test, let me know. Reach out with an email, lockedoneddie@gmail.com, and we'll see if we can put something together as far as a show or maybe even a competition between a couple of Kings fans. All right, for you everydayers, those of you listen to watch Locked On LA Kings every day, coming up on our next show, we're going to do another new Kings player profile. We'll talk about backup goalie Anton Forsberg. Plus, we'll look at how many LA Kings prospects made a recent list of the top 100 NHL prospects. Also, later on this week, Kings insider Zach Dooley is going to stop by, and we will talk about what's been going on with the LA Kings in the offseason. And of course, we'll cap it all off with another Kings fan feedback show. Again, the email address, you want to get an email in for the feedback show, lockedoneddie@gmail.com, EDDIE. You can always welcome your posts and your thoughts if you're watching on YouTube in the comments section as well. And we'd love you to stay connected with the show on social media, X, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. We're at Locked On LA Kings, and on Facebook, facebook.com/Locked On LA Kings. And if you're looking for some exclusive content while also supporting me, you can shoot me an email at lakingsextra@gmail.com, lakingsextra@gmail.com, and I will send you information on that. I'm Eddie Garcia. Thank you for listening and watching this episode of Locked On LA Kings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Have a great rest of your day. We'll talk to you next time. And as always, go Kings, go.